Well, listen, you are highly touted by Leighton. He's wanted to get you on since day one.
Britney Spivey's here.
Welcome.
Yeah, we got to tell.
Welcome.
So when we started the podcast, we're good friends. I'm good friends with Jamie.
Yes.
And she was like, oh, she heard the first couple episodes talking about business. She's like, you got to get Britney on.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, all right. Well, but I do see you around at kids' sporting events.
Yes. Thank y'all for having me this early morning.
How old are your kids?
My kids are 11. Parker's 11. Brooks is 8. John Paul is 6. And Sutton is 2. He'll be 3 in October.
Okay, yeah. So you're walking around the ball fields with 4 kids
all
like
boys.
we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all boys. Mm-hmm. So that's usually when I see you passing by.
Yes.
And
it's hard to even make eye contact with people when I'm wrangling them.
Yeah. And so your husband was in my 40 under 40 class, I think.
Oh, okay.
Was that 2018 maybe?
I think so. Yeah. And
were you a 40 under 40? You didn't know that. You were sitting across.
I didn't make it. I'm holding out for honoree. 45 under 45.
Ooh, clock's ticking.
That's right. That's right.
Clock's ticking. You missed out on that one, didn't you?
I did. So, Brittany, what do you do? I mean, tell us all about your...
I co-own Simply Chic Boutique with my husband.
Simply Chic.
If you pull that mic closer, then you can turn your head and not have to worry about leaning in. It'll pick you up.
So we opened in March of 2010. My husband and I got married in October of 2009, and we opened the store in March of 2010.
Was that your idea or his?
So mine. He was like, I mentioned it before we got married. He was like, let's just get married, because I did pharmaceutical sales before I did the store.
Okay.
And I actually opened it with a childhood friend, Jennifer Barnes. We had been friends forever. We did it for 4.5 years together, and then she moved to Dallas. Her husband got a job there, and we bought her out. And then Paul became even more
involved.
Yes.
So many talking points here. So let's talk about this. You started with one location, right? We'll get into it, but you have multiple locations.
Right.
Where's your first location?
Feet.
Is it still open?
Right. It's 1,000 square feet. It's 2 doors down from where we are, like literally in our shopping center, where the salon is now. We started in there, 1,000 square feet. I mean,
in Bossier?
Right.
Okay.
And on Douglas Drive. Okay. And we just wanted, to make rent. I remember doing the math, how many dresses would I have to sell to make rent? And
how many was it?
When we first started, like a $40 dress was such a good price point, because people in Bossier, we really weren't that bougie. We didn't grow up with a lot of different places to shop. So, I mean, we were happy when we got something from Target or Old Navy.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you'll hear a woman say, oh, girl, this is from Walmart.
I complimented somebody the other day, and they were like, oh, yeah, I got this from Kroger.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
and they're proud of it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, look, I grew up wearing my cousin's hand-me-down.
Right.
The best thing that ever happened to me was Solo Serve. You remember that place?
Solo Serve.
On Mansfield Road?
Mm-mm. No.
By CC's?
No.
It was like, one leg was longer than the other leg.
There were regulars.
It's the only way I could afford a pair of Jabots, right?
Okay.
It had to have like one pocket completely sewed up or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's how you got it.
That's how I got name brand stuff.
B-stock.
If it wasn't that, I was getting the Rustlers from Walmart.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
But that was, when you think that way, like, girls didn't have Louis Vuittons, and it wasn't this bougie crowd. It was just girls who wanted something different and cute that might stand out, but at a great price point. So, I mean, it was a lot of $40 dresses. And I still think now at the store, we do have price points that are, some things are higher, and a few lines we carry that are popular, they're higher, but we still have something you can come in and find for $30, $40, $50.
Okay, so for someone who's not the most knowledgeable in what's going on in women's fashion, regretfully, what are your product lines in the store? Like, what all do you do? You dresses? Is there other stuff that you're selling, or what's the like? I hear boutique and I think gifts and things like that.
We're about to open a store in Reston, so that's a great example for you. We're opening a store. It'll be about like 2,000 square feet on Tech Drive, right when you get off the interstate by Starbucks. We will start with dresses and tops and jewelry, and a few little shoes. And then slowly we will progress with like jeans and things like that. With dresses, you have a small, medium, large. With jeans, you have sizes 24 to 32, and you could even go farther.
Yeah.
So you really, like, you're finding the easiest sell is a dress or a top. Where with shoes, you're getting 8 sizes, you know? So it's harder. You can't, you know, if I really like a dress, I'm a medium, but I could squeeze into a small and I maybe could wear a large. If I'm a 7 in a shoe, I'm not wearing an 8 or an 8.5, you know, you can maybe fudge a little bit to the half a size.
Yeah. I was size 10 at one point in jeans, but I don't know what I would be now.
Boys are even more. Y'all are like 34 by 36.
Josh was in a rock band, so he shopped at boutique. That was his, he couldn't wear men's clothes back then.
Yeah, this was early 2000s. But so I'm not sure what that size would be today. But I never thought about that. I mean, you're so right in that, you know, you're thinking about inventory. You're thinking about, hey, you know, do I have to buy all these? Are they all going to sell? Are they going to sit and collect dust? That's got to be tough decisions because people are, you know, I guess fashion is fickle, right? I mean, things come and go. How do you work that? How do you do that?
I mean, I think it is a gut thing. My husband is, you know, we're both biology majors, surprisingly, and he has a master's in business. I've never taken a business class or a marketing class. So it is a gut thing. There were times where he wanted to put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and he's like, okay, let's put this into math or science. And I'm like, it's not, because what is big one season isn't going to be big the next. So one time I heard a business owner tell another business owner, you should have that, you know, how many tops you ordered that year and how many dresses you ordered that year and da-da-da-da. And, you know, you should know to order the next year. And I'm like, but that might not be in. Sets are really in this year, like a top and a bottom that match a set.
That match. I need to get some matching sets.
I'd love to see that.
That wasn't in last year as much. I mean, this year it's really, and then next year it'll probably dwindle a little bit. So if I put that in an Excel spreadsheet and I'm like, I have to order this many, it probably would be detrimental to my business, you know? So it's really a gut thing, finding what you love and hoping your customers are going to love it too.
So long-term business strategy that probably doesn't make financial sense, but you hold all of your inventory that you didn't sell for 20 years and then resell it as vintage.
No.
Right? Because look, we're walking around Boston, and my wife's like, "Oh, I had that in high school. You know, now it's like those are $200. You know, I threw them away when I moved out or something."
The real estate to just like hold on to that.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
This is so fascinating because, you know, I'm thinking about what you're saying and how you're thinking about your inventory. And that is so fascinating because really what you're saying is that there's so much gut, there's so much, I'm just going to go on what I think is going to work, having the confidence to, you know, make the call, make the buys. And then you hope to God that it works out.
That stresses Josh out. Josh is a numbers guy. He's probably Paul probably.
I'm like, can we get some historic usage? You know, can we see what the projections are going to look like? But I'm listening to you going like, whoa.
It's a gamble. I mean, it is. It's a, you know, educated gamble.
So have you made a large purchase that just didn't sell?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's been something before that I'm like, oh, this is so cute, and then it comes in, and it may be just a bad fit. You know, it may, like, the zippers may be faulty.
So is that like everybody's Christmas present that year? You're like, hey.
No, you just, I mean, you know, you mark it down and try to move it out. And sometimes you're just like, it's a loss. Yeah. But hopefully you're going to have more wins than losses. I think, you know, we've been doing it now, 14 years. Yeah. And so you just kind of roll with it. And you can, you know, there are trends that I'm going to tire of way before our customer does. So you're always trying to, I think you shop at a boutique because you want something cute and different, right? But the like simple, just no frills dress is still going to sell time and time and time again. I don't want to buy it. Yeah. I want to buy something cute and different and that stands out. But I have customers who need just a simple dress that they can wear every day and no fuss. And so you have to continue to buy that and have that for your customer.
So I've said before that Shreveport, Bossier's like 10, 15 years behind in business strategy, right? That you kind of go to the east and west coast of these conferences and you get back some like information or strategies that nobody is even doing here, right? It's not even on their radar. Would you say that that's like with fashion, like what's influencing the fashion here? Like if I go to a big city, am I seeing the same stuff you're selling, or is it different here?
Some things are never going to make it here.
Yeah.
I mean, we have how much winter, like when I go to fall and winter markets, I'm just like, oh, boo,
Yeah, gotcha.
So some things, and then I remember it was like hose socks that like had a frill, and someone showed me, they're like, these are huge in New York. I'm like, that will never make it here.
Yeah.
It's just too, And then you see some of these sequined lines that is never going to make it in New York. I mean, really, you go outside of Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, right here, down here, people aren't wearing sequins to football games. Like that's, so it's just different fashion climates, different places. I've never taken a business class. I've never taken a marketing class. So that I would love to know what that is, because to me, business, people buy from who they like. My dad's been in sales his whole life. My mom was in sales. You look on these websites that are, all over the United States, and they're carrying very similar things that we are. Sometimes the exact same thing. So why buy it locally? Why buy it with our little store and not just go online and click and buy it? It's because hopefully they like us and they like the people who work with me.
Sure.
And that's
they get to try it on. They get to feel it, touch it, right?
And that's a pretty simple business model. Yeah. So
and then it's like, sometimes you order things like, is it even worth the hassle to return it, right? And so like sometimes I'll just my big thing is shoes, and I'll order like 2 pair in different sizes and just return the one that doesn't fit, right? Because I those stores have my shoe size here,
right?
So
and I hate to return. I hate to return. Yeah. It's just a pain. It's a hassle.
It is a pain. Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. So Shreveport. Well, let me ask you. Yeah, let me get to that. So Shreveport. Bossier. You started the location 2010. First of all, how many locations are there now?
So we have Bossier and Natchitoches. I went to school in Natchitoches at Northwestern, and then we'll have Reston.
Okay.
In August.
So you have 3.
We'll have 3.
When did you start the one in Natchitoches?
It was when my Brooks was a baby, so it's easy for me to remember. He's 8, so
okay.
It was 8.
And now, is the business decision side of things? You're saying you're making decisions on gut. Is that also decisions on gut, or is it just the inventory you buy that's a gut decision?
I worked at Mercy Buku down in Natchitoches, waited tables there, and Front Street is just like
with Johnny Cox. He was my high school basketball coach.
Yes,
Coach Cox.
Wow, he wasn't that great. Apparently,
amazing.
I worked for Retha on.
Amazing.
Yes. So where'd you?
Wait, I've met them.
Central High School.
Natchitoches Central.
No, Central High School in Grand Cane.
Okay.
A little lesser known.
Okay.
But yes, Johnny Cox coached me from I think 8th grade till I was a sophomore in high school. He threw water bottles at us.
Yes.
Yelled, screamed, cussed. But you know what? He made me who I was.
Yes.
He made me who I was.
Yeah. He would when I was a waitress. He'd be like, Brittany, you're not worth a crap today. Like he would coach me.
Right.
Yeah. As a waitress, and I'm like, Johnny, I don't want to do this forever. Like, I just want to get my tips again.
He loved. And listen, I hope he can see this somehow. But he loved. What's the Indiana old school coach, Bobby Knight?
Yeah.
He loved Bobby Knight, the guy who would throw chairs.
Yeah.
And so there would be we'd go up if we weren't playing well. Literally, we would.
Which is often.
Well, I was a sophomore. Okay. So we're going in the halftime, and he's behind us. And so we go up the stairs to sit in this little dressing room, and coming up the stairs, there's just a sea of water bottles just being thrown, and you just hear yelling, and we're all just like, ah. Yeah. And today I think he would be arrested.
Yeah, probably so.
But back then, our parents were just like,
get him,
Johnny.
That's right.
Yeah. Get into him. And so that's how it was.
Retha she never threw water bottles, but truly one of the most influential women in my life. Just amazing.
Yes.
So I was so glad to work under them. Both of them. They were great.
Yeah. And you've introduced me to them somewhere. I remember you introduced me to her and saying her husband was my coach.
Well, that might have been Brian Hildebrand's wife, but either way. There you go. Well, good to know.
Hey, a lot of turnover there at Central. You got to keep those coaches. Look, you got to hold them accountable. That's not a volunteer.
They were 2 of the best that Central's ever had. Both.
There you
go.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Okay, well, cool.
So we have
Connections.
Shreveport,
Shreveport, yep.
which Joe Beth, my sister.
Wait, so you do have a Shreveport location?
We have a Shreveport location
Okay.
on Line Avenue.
And when did you open that one?
We opened that. Oh gosh, Paul has a whole timeline, but it's been probably 6 years. Joe Beth took it over about 3 years ago. She was my manager for 5 years at the Bossier store, and truly like so fun to work with, awesome. But it was just her time to take it over. My sister-in-law had it and was ready to step back, and Joe Beth was like, "I'm ready." So
As in, take it over.
it is her store now.
You sold it to her. You have
Yes.
no ownership.
I do
It
not.
just shares the name.
So at the time, there was no thought that my husband was going to come and do Simply Chic full time.
Yeah.
He was at Bipsy. He was, and I still wanted one more baby. And so for our work-life balance, we could not take on another store. Like it just, and I really think it was a God thing, because now we could easily take on another store. Paul's doing,
Is he full time?
He is.
Oh, really?
In
Wow.
May.
That's awesome.
He came on full time. So
Nice.
CFO or something. I mean, we don't have fancy
So
titles.
like the past couple months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So how does that make you feel?
It's been great. I literally had written it in our calendar like in 5 years. I was like, in 5 years, will you just give it a chance and do it full time with me? You know? And he was like, I think he was like, yeah, sure. And some things happened at work. I mean, where he just, it was hard. The store's doing great. We're opening, we want to open more stores and all these things, but we didn't even have time to, if we made money, we didn't have time to spend it, or we're working within this small vacation, and then he really didn't have the time to even take the sick time that he accrued. The time he accrued was not always encouraged to even take. So you're leaving a job of 10 years with 11 weeks sick time. Yeah.
There you go. So let's talk about that period, right? Because one of our things, we're mainly focusing on small businesses. Obviously, we talk a lot about startups, and one of the things we've talked about a lot is that, to start a business, you just have to be willing to tilt your life, right? I mean, you're just going to be sacrificing some things, working overtime. It's still, the verdict's still out if you want to do that, with your spouse. Josh hasn't really done that much. Me and Laurie worked together for about 9 months and realized that wasn't going to work. So how do you, having kids, having a growing business, him having a full-time job, it's just, to me, there's just a lot of friction there, right? Because it's like, well, when are we a family, and when are we business partners here, right?
So, we used to always say someone has to have a big kid job. Like someone has to have a real job, because small business doesn't always feel real. It's just weird, and you create this atmosphere. And he loved his job at Bipsy, loved who he worked with. I mean, it was great. But when Jennifer moved to Dallas, and he was like, okay, what can I take on? He took over like payroll, and he took over taxes, all the things I didn't like to do. And it just got to, as the business grew, he was doing more and more and more of those behind the scene things, and he was doing it like 11, 12 o'clock at night, I mean, just burning. And, I look back, like when we're having babies and all those things, I mean, there was just some really stressful times, because he's got this commitment to his job, but then as Simply Chic grew, and, the place it was in our family providing for us, like, I'm like, which one is more important? Like, which one is going to be most important? And so it just, over time, I think it really was in God's time, and just how it worked out. And when he was like, okay, I'm ready to take the leap. I'm ready to try it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He is so opposite. We do a lot of the Enneagram things. We do a lot of the like Myers-Briggs. There's another test called Colby. And Paul is long in projects, a perfectionist. He's slow to start, but has to finish. But I mean, everything is just like seamless. And I'm like,
so what's he on the Enneagram? A 1?
He's a 9.
A 9,
but
with
probably
a 1
wings
wing.
1. Yeah. And I'm a 2.
Peacemaker.
Yes, peacemaker. Yes.
What is the 2?
A 2
is a helper.
A helper.
Helper. Okay.
With probably
wing
with a 3.
3.
Yeah, achiever. Which is Josh.
Yes.
Achiever.
Yeah.
Simple. Why?
Right. Yeah. But so I'm like, it's easy for me to start a project. It's easy for me to open a store, and I'm gonna hot glue and staple gun it together, but it's gonna get done, and it's not gonna be perfect. But so a lot of times it's like, okay, you're gonna go over there, and you're gonna work on that, and I'm gonna go over here and work on that. and we're both going to get it done, but I cannot watch you get it done and he cannot watch me get it done because we're going to drive each other crazy.
Yeah, and don't give each other advice. Huh? It's like, hey, I would do it this way. Yeah. What'd you say?
So really on a day-to-day, we'll kind of touch base. It's really more seamless because it's like, okay, this is what has to, especially in the summer, right? With our kids, they're not in school. So it's like, this is what you're going to do for the kids. This is what I'm going to do for the kids. This is what you're going to do for the business. This is what I'm going to do for the business. Okay, break. We'll see you at the end of the day kind of thing. Because
I didn't know Paul was so involved, or we would have had him in here. That would have been interesting to have.
Yeah.
So
we could just like have a full on
next time. He'll be like,
okay.
He'll probably have a whole nother.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, we'll have them all be like, hey, this is what Britney said.
Yeah,
Tell us what your thoughts are.
full on therapy session.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's a 9, so it's really hard for him to talk about himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. My wife's a 9.
You're like, what are your feelings on that? And he's like, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm a 7 and she's a 9, and we're both the ones that avoid conflict on the Enneagram. So
you know, for the longest time, I thought I was a 7, and everyone thought I was a 7.
Yeah.
But it was really just a 2 trying to be what everybody wanted them to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we're gonna have Jamie is going to come on next month and talk about Enneagrams.
Yes.
So
she's. I mean, it's
I
really.
I think you had her come speak.
We did.
I think that's part of her thing is she was just talking. I guess what she admired was how you, I guess your leadership framework with your people that she's impressed by. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about right now. How many employees do you have?
We have like 20 at the Bossier store right now, and so then I mean they're all they're all part time.
Everybody's part time,
right? And I mean we're every age from I think we have a 16-year-old to a 70-something-year-old.
And why would they all be part time?
Really, I mean, it's hard for someone to want to work full time in retail.
Okay.
I mean, most of the women who are my age, they have kids, they want that flexibility. Retail is a lot. It's like the restaurant business, and I'm always like, someone will say they want to pick up more hours. I'm like, okay, absolutely. But you really need to watch because you have to be on the whole time. So you can't be in here like tired of people, tired of the mess,
On your phone.
Right. You have to be on all the time. And, so that we have to take that into account. But really, I mean, mostly all the people who come in, they don't want to be full time.
Yeah. So so let's talk about your employees. So you have 20. You have now going into Ruston. Obviously, it sounds like it's going to be a huge hit there. Just knowing I went to Tech, so I know the town. But do you decide on a location because you have someone there to lead it, or because you see an opportunity for business? What makes that step?
Natchitoches was like, it was my second home.
Yeah.
We had so many relationships there. Northwestern, I had always wanted to be on Front Street. That was just, it was just made sense. It was like a dream to always be there and be on Front Street. So Ruston, I have these girls, like one of my girls I think has worked with me for 10 years, another one 5 years, 6 years, they stay for a while. And a lot of them, they'll work for a few years in high school and then they'll work in college. Well, no one wants to pay a college kid anything, and we do. We pay them, they get paid commission and they make, more than minimum wage, so they'll stay with us for a while. Well, I'm sending all these girls trained and ready to Ruston, and half the time I'm paying them to come back home and work with me in Bossier. So, I mean, right now we're opening a store with girls who've worked with me for 3 or 4 years, and they can be there. There's probably 5 of them there already. So it just made sense. I mean, and we had a lot of customers from Ruston asking us to be there. Yeah. I really looked at the downtown Ruston area just because it's so cute to have a boutique downtown, and that, I mean, even down here, like it's just a cute feel. But there just wasn't a location. So where we are now, to get to Tech or Ruston High, you have to pass our store. And it's in there with a nail salon, a hair salon, and a tanning salon. So that's our cool.
Yeah, that was, I remember hearing a business, I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but this guy was talking about starting multiple locations, and he said that their philosophy is to find a presence there first, like a leader there.
That's a great
not
idea.
Just to open. And his phrase, and I always remember this, he says, a twig is better than a seed. Like you want to have something already established there, not just grow it. And having started like 10 businesses, I 100% agree.
Yes.
No more startups. I want to start. That's going to be my slogan on a shirt. No more startups.
Yeah.
Well, and they'll say, don't have a this opening for a person.
Yeah.
Find the person and then find what they're good at. That's just hard.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So right now with my business coach, that's my homework. I think I have a session with him in 10 days. But what I've done as we've scaled is I've created positions based off of team members I've had, and I've shuffled them around. And so what's happened in that, doing it that way and scaling, I have a lot of people that are in positions that doesn't match their strengths. So we're going back to the drawing board of, really the E-Myth model. It's like, okay, a company my size or even the next level, right, where I think I'm going to be in 12 months, what positions are needed and what are their things, right? Then you say, well, this is the type of Enneagram or personality or whatever would be good in that position. Do I have that on my team? If not, let's go hire it, right, instead of trying to do it the other way. So that's what I'm working with Erin on. Do you have a business coach? Do you have any consulting? Have you ever had any consulting?
Jamie East is always sending me different books to read. I just finished a Brene Brown, like Dare to Lead.
Okay.
And it was good. I mean, I read a lot, but it's mostly just for fun.
Yeah.
So I have challenged myself to read more books that like make me a better mom or a better business owner or a better wife, things, because at the end of the year, I'm like, okay, I just read crap all year. I do try to read some things that help me, but no, I don't have a business coach. I don't even know that existed.
Okay, there you go.
Amazing.
Yeah. Good
so his leadership framework question, I think, is a really, really good one. And you've obviously kept people around for a long time, and so this is talking about yourself, so maybe it's a little uncomfortable, but if we peeked under the hood, like what do you think makes those relationships so strong with people wanting to work with you and wanting to stay with you and wanting to ultimately follow you where you're going? What do you think is the recipe that makes that work?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I always say, people shop with Simply Chic because they love our girls, they love our family. It's not Britney Spivey, it's my girls. They bring a lot to the table, and I say girls, they're ladies, they're women, but I do think there's servant leadership. There's things that we learn, that like the leader eats last and those things, and I do try to model that with them. We have so many different girls that are different personalities, and I have an 8 as my manager, and she takes care of a lot of the things that as a 2 I don't like to, an 8's like a challenger, and so she will be the bad guy a lot of times because I'm working right alongside them. Like there's nothing at that store that I don't do that they do. I steam clothes, I press clothes, I do all of those things. So we talk about boyfriends and all the things. It really is like this camaraderie. So then it's even harder to come in and correct and all of that.
Yeah.
And Paul and I've talked a lot about that. Him coming in from an outside perspective, he's managed people and he can really sit down with them and look at it. I mean, he's great with people. It's very easy for him to say, okay, let's try to work on this, and it not be in a negative way, because he's not going to work alongside them like I am. And I think of Retha Cox. If you worked with Retha, she cleaned toilets right along with you. Like there was nothing she asked you to do that she wouldn't do. And I mean, with my girls, it's the same way. There's nothing I'm going to ask them to do that I wouldn't do, whether that's working a hot van event, in the middle of the summer or whatever, I'm going to do it too. So I think that's it, I mean, just working alongside them and not feeling like there's anything that I would ask them to do that I wouldn't do.
And it is challenging, right? That approach that does lend to, I would say, stickiness, that people stay with your company. But at the same time, it does make it hard when someone's out of line or doing something, right? Because it does blur lines between friends and boss or whatever.
Yes, and
you'll say.
We're starting with these girls. Sometimes they're 15, 16 years old. Yeah. So someone will come in and it won't be a good day. We'll be off, and they'll be like, the girls weren't as friendly as they should have been, and I'm having to hey, that is bottom line. When they come in the store, whether they buy something or not, we greet them they leave feeling better than when they came in. That's bottom line,
Yeah.
And they'll like ice you out, like your 16-year-old daughter, like they're like, it hurts their feelings, and you're having to work around that. And then 5 years later, when they're still with you, they're like, I'm so sorry I was like that. But I also, to the general public, I'm like, I am taking 16-year-olds and hoping to make them like better for the world, for the workforce out there. So also have a little patience with us. Maybe just the same patience you give Target. When you come into Target or Subway or wherever, it's like their expectation when they walk into a boutique is so much higher.
It is, sure.
And I'm not making excuses because, like, I get it. That is our job. But at the same time, you employ a 16-year-old and you tell me how it is. Like, I'm working to make them better. Brene Brown has this thing. It's like a list of values, and it's like 100. And you have to. She challenges you to pick 2 in this list of values. It's like faith and family and all of these different things, but to really look at that, and that is what is most important in your business, in your life, So you're looking at all of them, and of course faith and family and all those things and loyalty. But the things that resonated with me was kindness and peace. And so, like, in all of our situations at the store, I'm just asked the girls, because they're like, that girl talked bad about you. Why did you go to her such and such? I'm like, because I'm just going to choose the kind thing to do, because y'all are watching me. And at the end of the day, if I choose kindness as often as I can, even when I don't want to, then I've done the best I can, right? Or with the customer. She's a pain in the butt and, whatever. But we're just going to choose kindness. And then peace. Because if you're peaceful, you're happy, you're content. And, like, that's where the store is. So, like, keeping those 2 things out of that whole list, it surprised me that those were the 2 that resonated most with me.
That's awesome.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Target and some of the other bigger companies, because, in what we do, there's probably a lot of similarities. So, we compete against some of the biggest retailers known to mankind ever, right? And so you do too, right? With the Targets of the world and things like that. And, it is amazing that, number one, there's still a place for us. There's still a place for, and I share a lot of what you're saying with your team and how you're relating to them and how you're trying to get them to relate to the customer. Because ultimately, when I go into Target, me personally, it feels like the soul has just been sucked right out of the building. It just feels like a big corporate thing that they think people will like, and you have people walking around with this dazed look in their eyes, like, I'm here, but I'm not here. And I think a lot of that comes down to the people leading and managing, and I'm sure there's really great people in that big corporate world, but ultimately your approach is so refreshing, because you're sitting here not just saying, hey, we're just going to make all the money we can make. You're saying, I've got these young girls and I want to pour into them, and I want them to be better when they leave than when they came. And so I just find that interesting from a competitive standpoint, because it is very different than Target, right? It's a totally different approach. And the atmosphere and the way it feels and the way what you're trying to do, you're really standing against the way of the world, right? Because I feel like the world has really moved in that direction of big corporate. So I'm so encouraged by hearing you in your space fighting for the things that you're fighting for. I think it's amazing.
Well, and you think of that here, and one of your core values being kindness, is that that's what people essentially, if you look at it like a 30,000 foot view, but the reason why someone would go to Josh's store or to your store, because Target sells clothes.
Sure.
Probably at a cheaper margin.
Absolutely.
Home Depot and Lowe's sell a screw at a cheaper margin.
Absolutely.
So then why are they going to keep coming back? And really it is because, you have to compete on a different field. You're not going to compete with them on price.
Right.
That's right.
And convenience or some of these things, right?
Sure.
So why would they drive past Walmart and Target to come to your store, right?
Correct.
And so it's that's where you have to live. And go ahead.
But small business is the flavor of the community. You don't go to Dallas and go, let's go eat at the Chili's.
Well, my dad used to. The Hojo's, Howard Johnson. We call it Hojo's to make it sound really cool.
Right.
But I mean, Howard Johnson. It's the flavor. And my husband's like, online, as big as it gets, you're never going to replace two women want to meet for lunch and go shop together and watch each other try on clothes. Like, go try that on, you know. Or a girl last minute needing an outfit for a wedding. But this is the thing. You can buy anything we offer online.
Of course.
And the small business, what sets us apart is that I know who your wife is and I know what she likes. I know her style. I know your daughter. I know where she takes dance. I know, you know, like all of those things. That's what sets us apart. You know, I mean, I am just like, people all the time will come in and be like, who owns this place? And I'm like, I do, but she runs it. Like, you know, let's be real. I'm not the one running this place all the time. My girls help me run it. But there is something about like the owner coming out and knowing you and feeling important. And I don't think you always get that at Target or wherever else. Poor Target, we're like beating them up.
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, we just went to Boston and we went down, I think it's Newberry Street in Boston, where it's just like, you know, a half mile of just boutiques, pretty much. I mean, some of them were national brands, but it is crazy now. I'm thinking back when you step in, how your attitude changes based off of, you know, a few things. One, you know, is it nice and clean? Does it feel good? Is the air conditioned on, right? But also, you know, I mean, I remember walking in stores and literally it's like, I can't tell who works here. And like everybody's on their phone, so I don't know who to ask something to, right? And your appetite for being in there or spending money just goes away really quick, right?
And they expect at a boutique for you to be snooty. I think like Pretty Women, you know, like, like they expect you to like turn your nose up. And I'm like, so that's what they're expecting when if they've never been in our store. So you have to, the first thing, hey, how are you? Can I help you with anything? Please let me know if you need, like, that has to be like first thing. And that is the only thing that is separating us from them going online or going to a big box store. Yeah,
in real estate, well, I always call it, with my agents, I call it the unexpected extras, right? Because we have 1,500 realtors in this market. Right, they all have MLS. They all have a key to let you in a house. They all have all these things. Well, then what is that extra thing you're going to provide that's going to keep them coming back or enjoy their experience?
And I'm trying to remember what book it was, but it's like, find what you can do better than anyone else, and just do that. You know, so my girls, I deliver. It started in COVID. You know, it was like, I will put it on your doorstep. You know, and we still do that all the time. Someone will be like, can you drop it off at work? It's hard for me to get by there. Absolutely we can, you know. Or it's just going the extra mile, and the girls sometimes will get frustrated with me, and I'm like, that's what makes us different, is that, and it's a servant leadership. You know, I'm not too good to serve you. I'm not too good to serve my girls, and then they're not too good to serve the customer. Like, let's do it, you know.
I remember reading one of Andy Stanley's books. I talk about him a lot. He really,
he's good.
He shaped a lot of my early leadership stuff when I was working with nonprofits and churches. But he says, one of the quotes he says is, do for one what you can't do for all. And he's like, you know, we think that we have to live in this fairness thing, right? And it's like, just because you can't do it for every customer, you can still do it for one, or for one employee, you can still do it for one, or one department, you can still do it for one of them. That's pretty interesting.
That is good. That's good, because I'm usually all about like fairness, but that's good.
Yeah. Well, and you know,
So very, very good, Layden.
Hey,
very
there you
good.
go. Nuggets.
Man, you are dropping them today.
I have another question I want to ask you about. You said that you started the company with your friend Jennifer. Okay. How was that?
It was, I mean, it was great.
Did y'all both have the idea together, or were you like, hey, I don't want to do this alone, I need to find someone? Or what?
I mean, which is it. So we got married like 2 weeks apart in October. Okay. And so we were going to Jennifer's bachelorette party, and I was like, I think I want to do this. And the thing was I was calling on these small businesses, these small doctors in like East Texas, like Carthage Center, all these places. And when I was there, I would eat at their little local places, and I would shop their little local stores. And at the time, Bossier didn't have anything really did not. It had like one boutique that is not there anymore, but it was higher end, and that was it. But nothing that like I would wear and I would shop. So that's when I told my husband, and I was the breadwinner by far. And so when I told Paul that, he was like, what? You know, let's just get married. We'll see if you change your mind. And then I was like, no. And I really do think that was a God thing. And you probably feel that as business owners. Like, it was laid on my heart, and it was not coming off until I did it.
Yeah.
Like that, And I just, to me, that is like God. Like, this is what you're meant to be. And now that I'm like, okay, this is my ministry in some ways, how I'll get to love on people, it only could have been God.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, and what a good time to take a risk, right? Because, like, I think the older we get and the more established we are, our risk tolerance just goes away.
Absolutely.
Because you have kids you're feeding.
Yeah, we're afraid to lose what we've gotten, right? Back then, you don't have anything.
You can work all the time. And all my girls were, if they ever want to open a store, I'm like, that's fine. You are going to have to, you will starve in the beginning. You'll eat ramen noodles. You will work all the time. That's what you have to do. I drove a car. I gave up my company car, bought a car for $2,000. It had no AC, and the windows didn't roll down. It had a LeBra on the front, and that's what held the headlights in. And I drove it for a year because I didn't want financial stress on our marriage, or whatever. Anyways,
love it.
Jennifer, I always say Jennifer didn't marry for love. She married for money, which is a lie. But she was a little more comfortable than I was at that point.
All right.
But Jennifer was more like Paul.
Okay.
And we were both just so excited about it that it was like, we did not keep score on who did more. I mean, naturally, my personality is like, get it done, hyper. Mm-hmm. And she was a little more behind the scenes. But I don't know, it was just great. Yeah. Right before she left, we had the worst summer we've ever had. They were working on the road, Douglas, how they like now it crosses over and stuff. It was like literally gravel, and it was hot, and it was just bad. But in a way, that was a God thing because we negotiated our buyout off of the worst summer we've ever had.
Yeah, there you go.
And then Paul said after that, it's like the speed cap was taken off. Like, I didn't have to check with anyone before I made a decision, and it's just like I went.
Yeah, we've talked about that on episodes, the pros and cons of that, right? Because I've gone back and forth, like, okay, I'm never hiring anybody I know again, right? But then it's like, the people that I know the best, I see characteristics in them, and I can see them being a good team member, right? And so then it's like, well, but I think that what you said is important is when you do take on a partner, you have got to make sure that you do not have the same strengths. Right, they have to
be complementary.
They have to be complementary because now you have two people wanting now the things that have to get done that neither of you want to do, right? And so it has to be complementary.
Jo Beth was such a great manager with me, and now she's so great because Jo Beth is a 6 on the Enneagram, which is a loyalist, but they're very cautious and anxious and all
worst case scenario,
right? But what Jo Beth would do, she has a master's in counseling, so I'm sure that came in. But she would say, I would just go, well, how would Britney answer this? Or how would Britney want me to? And then she would do it. Mm-hmm. She was like, I just didn't. It just like, to her, that was easy to do. For so many people, that is not easy to do. They're like, well, she may do it like that, but I think it should be done this way. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't do right, it still comes back to me, and that just creates more work for me. Yeah. And so Jo Beth was like, I would just handle it like I knew you would want me to, and then, go about my
and that's the main thing, right? That's what the past couple of months, I keep, with my leaders in my company, I keep saying, hey, y'all have got to, one, for us, we have to empower them to make decisions, right? So a lot of times they're not making the decisions because we haven't empowered them to. Mm-hmm. And so then that happens consciously or subconsciously, right? I could say, hey, don't make these decisions unless you ask me. Or I haven't given them the permission to do that. Mm-hmm. And so, but I have to say, hey, listen, when a problem happens or there's a decision to be made, just say what's best for this company. Mm-hmm. Not what I would want to do, like what is best for this company, and then do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you tell me about, and now I'm asking you questions.
Okay, go for
commission.
It. Yes.
I feel like, so when Jennifer left, I wanted to give everyone a raise.
Yes.
And just because, these people had been with me, I really was going to rely on them now that Jennifer was leaving. Yep. And Paul was like, let's do commission, which, he really is like the brains behind a lot of it. And that changed our store. Yep. Now, it is not like the Buckle where we're going to chase you down. It's a team commission. Yep. Basically, you're there, how much is made, and then you get a percentage of that. And it's not divided by how many are working. It doesn't matter, Okay. But from then on, it was like, well, what do we do today, girls? They knew to the penny.
Oh, yeah.
And then they celebrate. Like the other day, they got their biggest sale ever. We've never had anything like that. It was crazy. This lady came in and left with 10 bags. They literally printed themselves out a certificate. Yeah. They haven't written down our best days. They're
That's
on
awesome.
Top of it more than I am. Before we have our big Christmas event, which is like our Super Bowl, they know what the goal is, and they're watching it to see. Yeah. they just have an invested interest, and that changed our store forever.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and I think that you want, for me, is, I think that going back, I think it's in the book Good to Great, but that's one of the questions is they have to know, how can I get more in my position, right? And so, but at the same time, this is a phrase that Adam always says, is you want everybody pulling on the same rope. So anybody that's in a leadership position in my organization, they're tied into the net profits. Right. And so now the good thing with that is not off the top. So it's not just making a sell. They're playing offense and defense, right? They're getting, they have to watch the spending as well as help drive the revenue.
That's good.
And then I do have some that just get off the top that, they don't have any control. So it's hard to incentivize someone if they don't have direct control of that outcome.
Yeah.
Right. And so
every year for Christmas, we do like a Christmas party, or now it's like a Christmas slumber party. I mean, it's getting more, and the girls have taken over and it's gotten bigger and bigger. But every year I say, I can go and buy you all something really cool, or I can give you cash.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Cash, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think that the good thing with here's why tying them into outcome or a commission is a good strategy when you're wanting to incentivize more or pay more, right? Because you don't know when they're going to do construction in front of your storefront, right? If you go and just give all your employees a bottom line raise on their base salary, and then, the economy goes to crap or whatever it is, you're still locked into paying that, right? And so that's why I like it. If you do have a slow summer, you're not stuck paying higher base salaries. So.
And we give raises for, especially like education and stuff, when they graduate high school, when they graduate college, when they, all those things. But there is a certain point where we're like, Paul's like, they're outside their pay grade.
Yeah.
She has a nursing degree.
Yeah.
This is what we can pay.
Yeah. What do you, let me ask you this, on those milestones, if you will, on pay raise, like, is that an agreement? Like, is that in writing? They know that? Or is that just one-on-one? Like, hey, when you go to college, we'll pay you a little more to help out.
I don't even think it's ever discussed. We're like, hey, you got a raise. And they're like, oh, awesome. I mean, there are, with our managers and things, there is a point where we're like, okay, you want to give them a raise before they have to ask for a raise, right? You don't, by the time they ask you, there's resentment.
Yeah.
So we do try to stay on top of that. I mean, if you're looking across the board in retail positions, we pay really well. But there is a point where it's like, I think Paul did set it up where we like match their 401k and stuff. Now he wants them to have some like knowledge on all that. Yeah. So it's important to him. But there's a point where it's like, you could go work somewhere else. And I would totally understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've told a lot of them that, like, you are so smart, you are capable of so much, and you could walk out of here and probably go make $90,000 somewhere.
Yeah.
And I will cheer you on all along. But at the end of the day, it's a part-time position, so, and we're a small company. So this is what we can do. But please know, I will write your recommendation letter. Like, I get it. That is part of retail and just the nature of our job. They leave me all the time,
Yeah.
But we have a couple girls who are teachers, and they work on the weekends and they work in the summer. We have one girl who's a nurse. A NICU nurse, and she comes back and works on the day. There's something about the family and the environment that they do love.
Yeah.
I just don't know, at this point that we can pay them.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Did you're friends with Jamie, so I'm assuming you know your primal question?
My what question?
Primal question. Has she gotten into that with you? Oh, okay.
What is
surprising?
Tell me about
part two.
Part two.
Yeah.
Part two.
Well, you'll have to go listen to our podcast on it.
Okay. I will.
No, anyway, so she got on that big kick. It's about everybody has this primal question that's birthed out of their childhood that's constantly is how we make decisions is based off this question, right? So it's, are you safe? Are you successful? Are you good enough?
Are you liked?
People? Are you liked?
Yes.
So for mine is, am I wanted? I think is mine.
Right.
And so like to hear, that was a big thing for me is anybody that wanted to leave my company early on, it was offensive to me, like personally offensive to me.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm not good enough for this person. Right.
Yeah.
And I had one of my therapists, not one of my therapist, the guy that I've been going to for years, he said when I was talking out with him, he's like, well, who are you to say what God's plan for their life is, right? And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
I would think, I mean, being a 2, you want everyone to like you.
Yeah.
And love you and accept you. So even like with donations, small business, you get hit up all the time. And we are like a location where they can come and they know my number. And, and I love everybody. Like I really do. There has been a shift in me where I now ask myself, I mean, there's things for the business, but I do say, does God want me to do this? Am I doing it because I think God wants me to do it? Or am I doing it because I think Jamie wants me to do it? Am I doing it because I think Layton wants me to do it? Who am I doing it for? And because I would Paul's like, you just throw away money, like give it. It's not throwing it away, buying things. I will just give it to every single person, every single thing. Yeah. Because of 2, you just want everyone to like you and love you and accept you. Yeah. So with lots of therapy and stuff, I've worked through that. Even being a boss to people, like having to get on to them. Well, I want them to love me,
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day.
That is a very 7 attribute.
Yeah.
To not want to offend.
Yeah, 7's I can't even watch a movie that's not happy-go-lucky. So, like, there is a...
That sounds like my son, my 15-year-old. I try to think of what we were trying to watch the other day, but, like, within 5 minutes, he's like, I can't handle this. And just walked out of the room. Because it was like bad things just kept happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, why for entertainment would I sit down and let you make me anxious? I'll just go live life and do that.
Get it.
It's really funny.
So, Brittany, listen, I mean, I'm so glad that you came to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm so impressed. I mean, listening to your story, a couple things I've clued into. So, you said that really you had no background. Your parents were in sales. So they were probably entrepreneurial, but never really to the degree that you've put yourself into.
Right.
So you sort of dove off into this thing with really not a lot of background. And you said a couple times, hey, I didn't go to business school or whatever. But then you've also said several times, I've read this book, I've read this book, I've read this book. So there's something going on there. Like you're a good student and you're paying attention.
Because Josh has a business degree.
And look,
did that help you a lot?
Not really.
No, not at all.
But really, the question is for somebody like you who's maybe a little younger, or for one of your girls that works with you, having the background that you had, and now having the success that you've had. Like sometimes there's not the right business school. It's just they can teach you some things, but not everything. So, what would you tell that young person who wants to do what you've done? Like, how would you advise them?
I mean, I think work under people or with people who you want to live like. I mean, go and model their work ethic. If you like what they're doing, go work with them and learn from them and match their energy is probably going to be the best way. I mean, when I look back, I worked at Fairway Gift Garden. That was on Benton Road. Do y'all remember? It's Lisa McDaniel. Again, one of the most influential people. This is... My mom died when I was 9. So, like, I looked at these women as mothers, as wives, as business owners, all these things, Retha, and I was like, I want that. I'm going to do that, So, even if it's not in your family or in your education or whatever, you can look around and go, okay, I see what they're doing. I want some of that, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I do believe in getting a college education because I think there are doors, unfortunately, sometimes that aren't opened if you don't have a college education. My dad went to apply for a job he would have been great at, but could not get in the door because he doesn't. He has 40 years, experience in sales, but couldn't get because he didn't. So I do think that is great. It's a great experience. You learn a lot being involved in different things, being away from parents. But I think you're going to learn so much working your way through high school and college and working under different bosses and bosses that you don't want to be like.
Do you feel, because my oldest son, he's 15, and I'm thinking through college, right? Because I'm thinking, like, I went to college. I have 3 degrees. I don't use any of them. Like, is college really, the beneficial thing for college really is making you grow up and be responsible, right? It's not what you actually learn.
I mean, I don't know, in classroom as a biology major, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, if you were smart and want to be successful, you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist. So that was like, we didn't know. No one said entrepreneur. Like that was no. And so that was too risky. But what I learned on that campus, being involved in different organizations, like leading people, managing people, balancing different things. I mean, that I needed that.
It's a big deal. Take you out of the house. You're on your own.
Why not do college? That's like the best 4 years. Like so little, responsibility and all the freedom. I'm like, please, yes, I need
I'm so torn because selfishly I'm like, well, I don't want him to move away. I want him to be close. But then at the same time, I'm like, after college, you're in the real world. Like it's kind of your last chance to go and just have fun, and so I don't know. It's interesting.
Like, to be your own person. When I was here, like my parents had divorced, my mom had died. Like I felt like this girl, and then when I went to college, like I could be whatever girl I wanted to be, and I could be whoever I wanted to be. My family wasn't broken. There wasn't, no one knew.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something like that autonomy of like being your own person and going off and starting your own way. It's good. I mean, it's only an hour down on Friday night, but
we'll see if he's able to just wake up and make it to class. So, last week, it was summer vacation. I texted him a list of stuff to do, and I was like, hey, Laurie and 2 of the kids were out of town, so I had 2 of the kids, and so I said, hey, I left you a list of stuff to do, today, and he texted me at 1 o'clock. Oh, I'm up. I'll get on it now.
Did he finish the list?
I'm like, dude, you're not sleeping till 1 o'clock the rest of the summer.
But 2, you're his dad.
Yeah. No, well, and that's another thing too.
I would have asked him.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, right? Is taking them out of the environment. Cause like I remember last summer, he goes to youth camp,
right?
And all the leaders were like, "We've never seen that side of Carter," right? Because you take him out of that environment, and he just like flourishes, right?
You're gonna love him no matter if he sleeps till 1 or not,
Well,
but another boss or somebody.
Sure.
The expectation's different.
Yeah.
And that's why I do think it's so, like Paul and I talk all the time, like different coaches and different teachers for kids. It's so important because, they're going to bring something else to your kid. That
so the coaching network that we're in, the coach we use, his wife coaches middle school, high school, and college students. And so they have a whole platform. You're assigned a coach, and they help you with not just schoolwork, but that's part of it, And so she's like, we'll teach, 7th graders that want to be able to do a recital in a year on piano and make straight A's, and we coach people that are about to take their LSAT, and just coach them through that. It's pretty cool. But
I think that's great. I just didn't know that was available.
I didn't know that was available either until they told us, and but
and you didn't have that growing up for sure.
No.
Because a lot of our girls, like when they're like going to high school or college, they're like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Right.
And I always say, okay, the Colby, which is a great or professional test. I'm like, Enneagram. You can literally go 2 wing 3. These are jobs that are good for that personality. And the Colby, same thing. It said that I'd be a good florist, which was like, if you think it's a short-ended project with creativity. When you start a new project every day, well, that's the same as an outfit. So, it is good to sometimes see it in black and white, but it's also great to discuss it with a coach. So I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah, I don't know if we're doing it or not, but it is available. So I think Providence just went up on their tuition. Think you think that?
I haven't gotten the letter yet. Hadn't made it to Grand Canyon yet.
Maybe not. Well, we do need to get Howard on here. Let's drill him in on why.
Yeah, of course.
Why it's coming up.
So another quick question, and then we'll get to a close here. But earlier you said something which really resonated with me, because this is what makes your business a little bit unique, in that you said something about, I want to love it. And then if I love it, I feel like, this has a chance of working. And that speaks to me a lot of, I love writing songs. I was involved in music for a little while. That's really the approach you have to take, is you have to get yourself to the place of, I need to love this. And if I love it, we'll start there.
Right.
And the people that come around, if they do good, if they don't, no big deal. But for you really need those people to love it. Yeah. So how do you balance that? Obviously, you've got a very good sense of personal style, but I mean, man, that's got to be tough.
My son always says there is charisma. I think someone who is good in sales can see what people like and, offer it to them. Right. And, my husband's always like, I hate sales. I cannot do sales, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me why you use iPhone over Android. And then he'll, all this stuff. And I'm like, you just sold me the iPhone. So people get excited about what you're excited about. Yep. And I always tell the girls who are shy and kind of meek at the store, just find one thing. And Lisa McDaniel would do this. She'd be like, you're my Tyler candle girl. You love Tyler candle and you sell it. So when you would come in and say, I need a gift for my wife. Okay, well, my favorite smell for Tyler candle is da da da. And then you're getting excited because I'm excited, right?
Yeah.
Well, same thing with Simply Chic. You know, I'm like, I tell the girls, just find one thing in here that you're like passionate about. Y'all all have it because you walk out of here with it all the time, you know? Mm-hmm. And then when people come in, be like, oh my gosh, and they're going to get excited about what you're excited about. So I do think I'm easily excitable. Like, I get excited easy. All my friends always say, I'm the biggest cheerleader. I could never make the cheerleading squad, but I really like to cheer people on.
I couldn't either.
You're right, you know? But I get excited easily. And I think other people get excited with me when I get excited. So maybe it all comes down to that.
Yeah.
I hope I have a good eye for picking things out.
Yeah.
I think I do, but...
Well, I think it goes the other way too, right? It's like the leaders... It's infectious, right? And another Andy Stanley quote. Maybe we should have an Andy Stanley ticker.
Yes.
But he says, vision is caught, not taught, right? And I think that's a big deal, is because if we're stressed about cash flow and we're walking in stressed, like, they're going to pick up on that, and now they're going to be stressed. And now when somebody walks in, you see what I'm saying? And so it just really is infectious.
We don't have any goals for the day. Like, I don't ever put down what the goal is.
Yeah.
But they know what a good day is. You know, they know.
Yeah.
Because I don't like that pressure either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be in there going, oh, we got to hit this, you know.
Yeah.
Quick question. What's your favorite Tyler candle scent?
So, Tyler, I'm going to go with Ocean Breeze.
That is not even one.
Oh, okay.
Buttercream?
Buttercream?
Is buttercream one?
No, that's not either.
Never heard of a...
My favorite is Pineapple Crush.
Okay.
Isn't there like a reddish Christmas one?
Yeah.
I think my mom.
I mean, that's every candle line.
Right. Well, you know what I mean. It's like my mom usually has one of those sitting somewhere.
I remember some of those candles. Like, we would get the candles. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we get the candles that were so strong you never had to light them to smell them. Just like pop the lid.
That's great.
So I mean, we was like, hey, we don't like that candle. It's just just
for
open the
looks.
lid and you
Yes.
can smell it.
Yes.
Open it.
Smell
That's
it. Yeah.
hilarious.
Especially if you like,
Yeah, beautiful. Brittany, we like to do something on the podcast where we give other local businesses, Shreveport-Bossier-ish area, shout-outs.
Ooh, shout-outs.
What's a business, any genre, any type of business that you has made a difference for you, or you appreciate shopping with, or anybody stand
you
out?
spend a lot of money on.
There you go.
So in our shopping center, we have like Give Me 3 and Rosewood Home and Baby, and we partner together a lot to put on the events and things. And I just, it's girls, women-owned businesses in that shopping center. K-Couture's in there too. We also have Yellow Ribbon. Like, it's a bunch of women in there that are running these businesses, and I think that's cool because you don't see that all the time. And we partner together to do these events and things. So I give a shout out to my girls, my neighbors in there, and really
and what
proud
are
of
they?
them.
The businesses are called what again?
So you have Give Me 3.
Give Me 3.
Who's a gift store.
Okay.
And then you have Rosewood Home and Baby. K-Couture's in there. They have women's clothing as well. And then Yellow Ribbon is formal wear.
And what kind of events are you saying y'all put on?
Like our Christmas event, or we'll have a back to school thing where we all kind of go together and we'll do sales together. And it's tricky because there's some crossover. Like, we all carry candles and some, so we have to make a conscious effort to like love each other through things, to give each other the benefit of the doubt, and really, choose kindness. Because it's hard, and not see each other as competition.
Sure. Well, and that's a big one. We've hit on that a bunch, and I think that's a huge mistake a lot of early entrepreneurs make in their journey, is this scarcity mindset. It's like, there's only a limited amount, and I have to go get as much as I can to be successful. And it's like, man, how many people in this market, how many candles are bought every single day? Right. I mean, there's a lot of business out there.
I find if I'm looking at someone else's social media, I'm not in a healthy place. I'm not in a growing place.
Yeah.
So I just stay in my lane.
Comparison.
Yeah. I'm not, what am I doing? That's not my heart is not happy.
Sure.
So I'm like, you don't even need to be.
And that's what I always say in sales, competition is you. Like, you're competing with yourself every day.
Right.
Are you going to go do the things you have to do?
And we've had conversations. Tracy, who has Give Me 3, she's like, I'll compare. And I'm like, sis, I took mine to the muddy lake the other day. You took yours on a beach trip, your girls. I'm like, we could do this all day long.
Yeah.
You're doing great, and I'm excited for you, and I'm doing great, and I'm excited. You know, like we can both do great and love each other and support each other. And she was like, you know.
And the truth is, and you just think of your little shopping center. I mean, to have a vacant spot hurts you. If one of those businesses fails, right?
Right.
Like you think of the East Bank district, right? I mean, these different restaurants and places, like they feed off of each other. And so,
no, if there's a spot that opens, I'll call my landlord and I'm like, give me 3 months or give me a month, and I'm going to fill it with a complimentary business that can help us. So, and that's why this trip has done as well as it has, because we've been able to, you know, find people who are all working for the same thing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Shout outs to some good local businesses.
Yeah. Do you ever have husbands come in and be like, I need something for my wife?
Yeah.
Do you?
First thing they walk in, you know, I'm like, how can I help you? Because obviously they're needing help. And they're like, no, I've got it. And I'm like, oh,
obviously.
Yeah. I'm like, this is going to be interesting, you know. But it's cool to see, because I don't know if Paul has ever really bought me any clothes.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, this is a brave man right here, you know.
Yeah. Well, for my wife, she will go eye something for a week and never buy it, and like, oh, I just decided to buy something for the kids. I'm like, no, go buy something, right? And say she won't do it. But so I go in, I'm just like, well, you know, she's a simple person, you know, help me out here.
And they should be able to, you know,
sure.
But we do gift wrap, so that pulls
helps.
in the men.
That's
helps.
right. Listen, I did go into Give Me Three to buy something for either my wife or my daughter, I can't remember, and I was terrified.
Yes.
Walking through the door. And, you know, they approached me and they were very gracious and offered to help. And she's like, so what are you thinking? I'm like, well, whatever. And so what's your budget? So I gave her a number. She brought back a gift bag and just handed it to me.
Yes.
And it was great.
It's
you know,
great.
it was like, thank you.
They're good at what they do. It's like a feast for the eyes, and there's like a glitter bomb threw up. I love it.
And, you know, me, I love glitter bombs. So it was
with your size 10 women's pants. We're just talking about you getting ready for your shows back in the day.
That's right. That's a glitter. But so that was great. Thank you for shouting them out.
Thanks. Thank y'all so much for having me. This is fun. I mean, I literally could do this all day long.
Yeah, we'll have you back. This is actually, I was thinking this on the way here. You're the first guest on our podcast that we didn't really know.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody we've had on, we've either used before, we've known before, we've been in networking groups before. So very interesting.
This is great.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Simply Chic.
Simply
soon
Chic.
Soon coming to Ruston.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do we have anybody listening in Ruston or Natchitoches?
We will.
Sure. There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.